Okay, so has everybody done Feldenkrais before?
I have 3 hours under my belt.
3 hours, all right.
3 hour pro. I have about 45 minutes. Okay.
Okay, well, you know, Feldenkrais is very different from most exercise kind of things. You know, most exercise things you're trying to strain, you know, and overload your muscle fibers, or you're trying to stretch them and go to your limit and, you know, do yoga kind of things. Feldenkrais is a very different approach because instead of working with the muscles, it's more like we're working with the nervous system. You know, how we organize ourselves, how our body image can be filled in so that we can feel different parts of ourselves more completely. So it's a movement that's relaxed and gentle. You don't go to your limit. You stay well within your limits, because if we go to our limit with something, all these things in us that protect us are going to come up, right? You know, if I go to my limit with something, then, you know, in here it's like, you know, because it doesn't want me to get hurt. We have something called a stretch reflex in the muscles. If we stretch that fiber too quickly, it shortens back, so it ends up shorter than it started a lot of times. So stretching is something kind of problematic. There's a lot of research that doesn't prevent injury like they thought it did. But so the movement we're going to do, we're going to do some sitting movements. You guys are riders, so I think you would appreciate, you know, being able to feel some things in sitting. But I thought first, you guys are going to be working with your hands a lot. Maybe we would illustrate maybe a Feldenkrais lesson with your hands. You know, most hand exercises that you learn are something about squeezing something really hard, you know, crushing something. You know, how often in our day do we have to crush something with our hands? You know, unless somebody we want to impress with our handshake, maybe. But usually what we need is a touch with our hands. Okay, now a very classic Feldenkrais lesson is something called a bell hand, where you're bringing your fingertips toward your thumb. Okay, and so why don't we could try that just for a second. Okay, so you don't touch your thumb, just try one hand. So you just bring the fingertips toward the thumb. Okay, and then what if you just brought your forefinger toward your thumb? Okay, but not touching it. But not touching it, you know, because we get into a goal thing, you know, we're going to touch. I'm going to touch. With Feldenkrais, we're thinking about the process, you know, the process of doing something. Can we bring the thumb and the finger so they both move an equal amount? Okay, do you leave your thumb there and make the finger come towards it, or does the thumb come an equal amount toward the finger? Can you feel that path between the forefinger and the thumb, how it can get smoother and smoother? You know, this is actually a movement we do when we're fetuses. One of the very first movements we do in the womb is this movement of the hand. So what you could do is start to touch the forefinger to the thumb, but you make it the lightest touch possible. You know, most people, when they first learn this, you know, they can't stop themselves from pressing hard. What is the lightest touch, the briefest touch you could make? Okay, and that would give you precision. That would give you feel with your hand, to be able to feel the lightest touch possible with those fingertips. Okay, and then from the forefinger, you can go to the middle finger. Maybe do the same thing with the middle finger. The lightest touch possible. Feel the precision that makes you have to be able to feel the finger and the thumb moving an equal amount, and the lightest touch.
Does it make a difference if you look or don't look? I mean,
It's fine either way. For most kinesthetic things, if you close your eyes, you can feel more. You know, if our eyes are open, part of our brain is busy processing whatever it is the eyes are seeing. So just as a general rule of thumb, if you close your eyes, you can feel more. So feel free to do that anytime you feel safe to feel more. Okay, then you can try it with the ring finger. What's the lightest touch possible? Feel if those fingers are different. You have some favorite fingers. Okay. And then if you can bring the little finger over. Now some people might have difficulty with that. To touch the little finger to the thumb is a pretty advanced movement, really. I'm not sure, maybe Deborah can tell us, but I think man is maybe the only primate that can do that.
Yeah,
the little finger to the
so
thumb.
Other primates have an opposable thumb, but it's short.
Like, yeah, but I don't think they can touch their little finger to it.
They can't do that. They can't flip like this. They don't have this precision grip, is what it's called.
They don't have the jointage in the thumb and the length, like you said.
Okay, so the little finger. So here's something we can do that no other animal can do. Touch our little finger to our thumb. We can feel a little pride in that, I guess. So then after you went through the fingers, you could start with trying to do two fingers at once. So you could do these two fingers so they both hit at exactly the same moment. Okay, what kind of precision would you need to have both those fingertips touch lightly, the fingers and the thumb to move an equal amount? Good. And you could try the next two fingers.
My body's brilliant.
It's so true. It's
I'm
such a
not
miracle.
appreciating this. This is good.
It's such a miracle.
What's interesting is what I'm doing with the fingers. I'm not moving.
Mm-hmm. Are they moving too?
No, I stick them out.
Oh, okay. Well,
There.
what we're learning in Feldenkrais is appropriate movement. You know, if you watch a master of anything do something, they make it look easy, right? Okay, because they know appropriate effort. Instead of using overwhelming effort like a beginner would, they know exactly the right amount of effort to use. So that's what we're learning, is how to use the appropriate amount. You could try these last two fingers together. Okay, and if you wanted to, you could try different combinations, the forefinger and the little finger together. Can they both hit at the same time?
Which finger is
Okay.
that?
The forefinger and the little finger, that would just be a combination. So you could try different combinations of two. And what you would want to get to with this is to be able to hit all four fingers to the thumb at the same time. So they all four fingers. Notice that some fingers always hit the thumb. Some fingers don't want to hit the thumb. Which fingers hit first? Which hit last? Could you make that movement precise enough to where you can have all four fingertips hit the thumb at the same time? Okay, and you might notice that this starts to slow you down, starts to slow down your nervous system. Okay, when you do this movement for a long time, you start to feel how you open up a little bit. Different parts of you open up a little bit here. Different parts of you close a little bit here. You know, all those, like around your eyes, you might feel it. Okay, a little closing, a little opening. The mouth is the same kind of ring muscle. All through the body, you might be able to feel that opening and closing. So there's lots of different lessons with this particular movement. The ones where you're laying on your arm and you're doing it while you're rolling around doing different things, you know. So it's very cool. I just thought I would show you. So you might want to touch both your hands on your thighs now and just feel. Can you feel any difference in your two hands after doing that? Okay, which hand would be nicer to touch something with right now? Okay, maybe you got a little extra precision, a little extra feeling in that one hand. Because that's what we do. We use the movement to enhance our sensing, feeling, thinking. All those things are connected to the movement so intimately that we can use the movement to affect them. Okay, let's try a little sitting. So, yeah.
I wondered if people use their dominant hand when they did that.
did
I don't
that.
know, we can ask.
I did that.
alternated.
I always on purpose use the one that's not.
You know, there's a movement I show people sometimes, this movement of having the hand down, tapping these three fingers like this. You know, for most people that's hard at first, you know, because our habit is to move them all together. So this is making you break up that habit. These two fingers staying down is what we call in Feldenkrais a constraint. We're putting a constraint on your movement to make you move differently. So this is differentiating your movement pattern in your hand. Okay, so you might just start just by being able to raise those fingers and put them down slowly. And then you work on being able to go faster and faster, which will break up that connection between all the fingers having to do something together.
Yeah, it's not just a club.
Yeah, it can do different things.
Different bones and muscles in there, and they can move independently.
Yes, this is
theory.
this is one of the very first. This is one of the very first Feldenkrais movements I learned. Actually, Gene Houston has a book, "Listening to the Body," that I learned this in a long time ago. The rest of that movement lesson is actually to increase the spread between the fingers, and she has you do that by rubbing here, then rubbing there, then the bicep, then the shin, then the thigh. If you did 20, 30 times each place, you would gradually increase that spread. You could do the same thing with each one, and then you'd have a bigger spread with that hand. If you played guitar, or just in general. In general, the hands will be, so you would go a bunch of times, the edge of the hand, the forearm, the bicep, the shin, the thigh. If you went 30 times each place, you'd gradually, because you have to gradually do it. You know, a lot of people stretches, they say, oh, I'm going to do that. You know, the stretch reflex does not allow that to just, you know, do that. You have to really coax it in that way, and then you do the spreads. So anyway, let's get to our sitting movement. So, you know, in our society, you know, what happens, we have all these chairs where it's slanted back, you know, where it's in like that, where the intention is to make us like this, to make us flex. Okay, so everybody ends up with a body that's flexed all the time. They end up with a head that's forward of the spine, so the neck muscles have to work hard to keep the head up. Everybody gets osteoporosis in the upper back because it's not supporting the weight anymore. It's just kind of there. So what we want to work on in Feldenkrais is the ability to